Yeah, KYC, it means know your customer. All right, know your customer. So here in this session, we'll discuss about KYC, and tomorrow we'll have session on AML basically. KYC. KYC, it means know your customer. Know your customer in better way. Know your customer. Now you tell me, how will you recognize your customer? How will you recognize your customer? Let's say I don't have a PAN card, means tax information. I don't have my address proof. I don't have my name identity proof or number. So how will you recognize that? Come on. Any guess? I don't have my number, ID, PAN card, Aadhaar number, anything. Just imagine we don't have any documents or any proof. How we can track customers? Is there any other way? See, in history, we had no KYC process in place. But again, we are in a digital era. Your entire data, which is available on digital platforms, so that you can store information of your customer in digital locker or system, so that you can track information through digi locker process. But in history, we had no digital system. So again, there were no proofs available like Aadhaar or PAN card, and also they had the different proofs, of course, means registry or any other documents which can recognize that person, at least village or name or maybe caste something. But in digital era, we have a documents which help us to identify that person through maybe maybe through that nowadays we have biometrics in place where you can actually scan your thumbs or fingers, then eyes or lenses. You can record everything in the digital system, so that next time if you want to access anything, digital system will help you to quickly get the access of your information, and through that information you can validate the business transactions. I'm getting a point. And to perform that all that process, KYC plays very crucial role. If we talk about know your customer, it means know your customer through Aadhaar, through passport, through voting card, through SSN number, through any different number. It can be employment card, light bill, or different bills, and even photo or biometrics. Biometrics process. See, this all comes under CDD, customer due diligence. Customer due diligence, it means if you onboard any customer in your banking system, right? So without the the validation of certain proofs, you cannot onboard them. So you should follow the CDD checks, which is customer due diligence process, and ensure that you have verified through documentation. And that documentation, again, who defines a documentation process, means what documents that we consider under KYC and all. Of course, your in a central bank, Reserve Bank of India. If I talk about India, we have RBI, which disclose the documents or the required forms or detailed from the customer to know your customer. All right, it's just an initiative, know your customer, but this initiative helping us a lot to bring more transparency in this particular business. Why? The reason is, see, in past we have seen several scandal happens, right? Some of the everyday we have seen that scandal happens. Now let's talk about some certain facts so that you can relate. So I'm sure you would have heard, like, in India, we had no DBT portal. DBT. What is that DBT? Direct Benefit Portal. Direct Benefit Portal. Right. So I have seen that exercise where, the agents or middlemen or brokers, they used to withdraw the payments from the bank directly through slip, and handing over the, let's say if someone withdraw 2000 rupees from the bank, they used to hand over only 1500 or 1000 to the actual beneficiary. So that is how scandal happened in history. All right, but now if we talk about this government, they design this DBT system where if let's say someone is eligible for XYZ scheme, directly benefit will receive in their accounts. That doesn't mean that they have ensured 100% transparency, but I would say up to 90% you would see very transparent system if you apply to the specific schemes through certain documentations. Then within their defined period, they'll process benefits to you, and you don't need to pay any commissions to anyone. It's a transparent process. But in past, we had no such a system in place where ensure the direct benefits to the direct beneficiary. But through KYC, first, see, the government first did, linking of PAN or Aadhaar, or ensure that at least, 100% Aadhaar number allocation, or you can say, like, PAN card or maybe other different identities, and also through that they can link people to the different IDs, and transfer the data to the DigiLocker. And once the data is available on DigiLocker, so that they can link that database to the government schemes and even government banks, so that they can process benefits to the direct customer. Means directly benefit will receive to the end beneficiary, I would say, without any middleman or any broker as such. All right, but if you see, this entire credit goes to the KYC process. Basically, let's say, for example, you don't have a documents of your beneficiary available, so how will you process benefits? Let's say you don't have a account number which is linked with the beneficiaries documents, then how will you again process benefits? Means, what about transparency, authenticity, and all, or legitimacy? So you would face lots of challenges if you don't have a strong KYC process in place. So KYC and KYC related documents both are a very, very important one. So KYC checks, are done through an independent and reliable source of documents, or I would say, or data or information as such. And it is mandatory, each client is required to provide credentials or details, right, or documents or everything. If you don't provide that, then we cannot store that anywhere, along with your photocopy or ID or passport size photo that you can say. Are you getting my points? So all that information is needed, and that comes under your KYC. So I just gave you one example of DBT, so which help us to ensure that digitalization in terms of benefit processing to the end user. So this is how KYC actually means helping. All right. So again, see, the central bank of every country, they design policies around this KYC or banking process and share the draft with all other participants, so that participants, can follow the same. Recent case that we'll talk about, why RBI, shut down this Paytm bank. The game was related to the KYC again, right? So RBI alleged to the Paytm bank in a way that Paytm has offered one bank account to the 1,000 fake users. Means one account they have offered, same account number they have allocated to the fake 1,000 users, so that they can collect payments from different accounts, and also they can process payments to the different accounts. And that caught up in a supervisory review of RBI process, and then finally RBI sanctioned this bank and asked them to close the business operations, banking operations. Why? Because of KYC fault. See, whether you guys agree with this or not, but personally what I believe, KYC should be very transparent, and it should followed by every stakeholder, whether it is a small Paytm bank or a small bank or large institution. It is mandate. If they fail to implement the robust process or transparent process, then it may dent the entire system. And RBI already, they have stated that their role is not to wait for a scam and then justify it. No, their role is to always try to means identify potential red flags as much as they can, and take a preventive action, or apply preventive measure, and to ensure that they have means ensured or reduce that red flags or control the risk. But KYC is one of the area where, so every regulator, they pay more attention and ensure that they have robust KYC process in place. All right. So let's try to understand some technical things of KYC. So I have a documents already. I had shared this document with you guys. I don't know whether have you gone through it or not. All right. So can you see this document, guys? Have you gone through this? Yes, no. Okay. So I had shared that documents with coordinator. I don't know whether you guys have gone through it or not. So we have a two different aspect. So one is KYC and another one is AML. AML will discuss tomorrow, not today, anti-money laundering part, but we'll discuss about KYC one. KYC, it means know your process. How we conduct the process? KYC, it means we gather customers data, necessary data, and we perform validation check. All right. So we collect the data from the customer only, and then we perform checks. Now this KYC, first understand this, why KYC is important, or KYC documentation is important. Let's take the another example to understand this in a better way. If you want, let's say, home loan or personal loan, whatever loan that you are looking for, let's say you're looking for a loan, you're looking for home loan, and you have this property, or maybe you're looking for a loan on property, I would say. Property value is USD, and you're looking for a loan. All right. You approach to the bank. If you apply for a loans, first bank will ask about KYC check. KYC check. So KYC check, it means the documents which will prove it, that you have ownership rights of this property. Then what are the documents which is required? Maybe property card. Let's say on property card, the name of the person is A. Then again, this E name, documents, maybe SSN number. In India, we have Aadhaar. In US, you would see HSN number or different, their numbers. It can be passport number, any address proof as such. All right. Then other address proof, information, property details, all that information is required. So it means this product KYC is also required. This home property KYC, because bank conduct thorough KYC checks for property, which is your collateral basically, and also check the thorough, or conduct that review process of A as well. Let's say this is A, which is looking for a loan. After that only, that bank decide whether bank will process with loans or not. Otherwise, bank will directly reject that application. So it means if you don't have a proper KYC documents in place, banks will not process any loans amount to you. Now your question would be, let's say, sir, why this KYC is important? Let's take this example in other way around. Let's say you have just submitted one property docs and SSN, and bank agreed with, let's say, loan amount which is $8,000 on this property. Loan amount, let's say, has disbursed, and bank received documents which is RTS, right to sell documents, or you can say power of attorney against the loan disbursement. So bank process this amounts to this person. This person has received loan amount. All right. And here, let's say that loan transaction closed. Let's say later on this person announced default on payment. And when the person announced default on payment, then bank started searching this property. All right. And reached to this property. Then bank realized that this property has, two owners. So one, that A is holding only 10% and B is holding 90%. But just because of, documentation process, so they missed to check the other documents, so they couldn't rectify the two owners from same property. So basically here, that A person cheated banks, or let's say that, organized scam or fraud, that you can say, he did it. And now finally banks lost total loan amount. Why? Because of KYC documents. And that's the reason for a credit card process, for a saving account process, demat account process, for any account, if you active with any financial institution, that institution ensure that they have performed KYC checks thoroughly. If they don't check it, or if they miss to check the KYC check, it might lead to the big fraud or any scandal in future. So just go back in history, because in India we have several stories to tell to the people. Go back in history and see Nirav Modi. The scam of letter of undertaking or letter of credit through fake KYCs, or through the clerk of PNB Bank. So every time he was asking bank to issue LOU against the goods, because he was a diamond dealer. He was asking banks to issue payments against goods, maybe 2000 crore, 1000 crore, 500 crore. And finally what he did, when the bank thorough checked, then banks got to know there was no goods, in this particular transaction. It was just fake LOI that created against diamond goods. And when the bank checks it, then banks got to know that they have directly cheated. All right. But it was a failure of a bank. If you clearly see this, bank had missed to conduct the thorough review of KYC checks of goods or collateral or assets as well as customer. And then finally what happened? Bank had to book the loss on their balance sheet, around 3 to 4,000 crore. 6 to 7,000 crore they recovered through different sources of Nirav Modi, sold out properties, recovered amount. But again, after all, scam is a scam. Are you getting a point? So KYC plays very crucial role. If you join any company as a KYC analyst, your job may be to review the KYC documents on a monthly basis, or maybe quarterly basis or yearly basis, right? They'll give a case basically, maybe for active accounts, non-active accounts, dormant accounts. They'll give a case. You can thoroughly review accounts, update the documents in place, cross-verify the documents of customer, and update in accounting system and activate the accounts. So this is how we perform KYC checks for every customer, every accounts, and every funds. We perform thorough checks of customers data, and this is a very important one, guys. Understand me. If you don't follow the due diligence, customer due diligence, then you might uh, put your organization in a risky bucket, because we never know. Let's assume it takes another example to understand this KYC importance. Let's say someone from India open accounts with you. You have a Bank of America in India. Someone from India open accounts, only provided, let's say, fake in India required PAN and Aadhaar. Let's say account open in Bank of America, and here fund received from Pakistan in Bank of America, and that is also from, let's say, Karachi. Right. And person who is submitted documents, that person submitted fake documents, and let's say this person has received fund around 1,000 crore. Right. And this person, let's say, deployed this fund in fake businesses. Fake businesses. And through fake businesses, let's say, indirectly, that funded, means through Hawala practice, basically. All right. Through Hawala, that person funded to the illegal activities, let's say. So illegal activities, it can be drugs, human trafficking, or any other that illegal, maybe arms, bomb blast planning or attack planning. It can be anything. All right, let's say that funds used for such activities. So just imagine, if you miss to follow the checks, what will happen? You would see, very disastrous moment ahead, because cash is like a weapon. Cash is like a weapon. If you don't know how to deal with it, you would means 60 to 70% people, of, on this earth, they don't know how to deal with this money, and that's why they spend their money on different things. All right, and we should understand the importance of KYC here. But anyways, every bank, they have their process to perform this, diligence, and they follow that as well. But if you get a job in KYC, so make sure that you have checked everything. Don't directly update the, old data. Always ask for a new data, new address proof, new information if they have, and keep, up to date customer accounts, and ensure that you have checked everything. Do not take any, opportunity where, okay, just you have overlooked and missed any information, because you because you don't know, right, how that information gonna be help us or to prevent risk in future. All right, so now let's talk about process. As we have discussed, process, it means here KYC conduct through customer data gathering and validation through necessary checks. Necessary checks, it means ID, documents and all. If we talk about purpose of KYC, that KYC ensures accurate verification of customer identities to prevent illicit activities. So illicit, it means I gave you 2 to 3 examples. One is that PNB scandal. All right. Another one is this illegal activities and all. And then any scandal, if you see, or any frauds and all other activities that they scheduled through this KYC process only. Because in bank accounting system or in a wealth management system, you can activate accounts of any users. IT person can activate accounts of any users without any documents. All right. But if they do it, then ultimately it will cost us. And that's why we should ensure that we have received the documents and everything in place, so that we can cross verify, check, and then we can activate the accounts. All right. Then elements of this KYC process is customer screening, identity, Aadhaar, PAN, all SSN number that comes under identity, verification and validation, risk profiling, check the risk. For example, let's say if someone is politically exposed, or let's say person is already bankrupt, so that all persons comes under risk profiles. Let's say if someone is criminal, already have some cases filed against that person, that person comes under criminal activities. Maybe that person, someone, let's say, caught up in financial frauds. See, there are n number of cases or areas, so that all comes under risk profiling. So you should have to have check in place for a risk profiling. If you see in banking system, most of the banks, they avoid to offer loans to the politically exposed person or criminals. All right, and we should follow that. If you offer loans to everyone, then it becomes again difficult to recover. Okay, so another one is feature adopting comprehensive, continuous, and risk-based approach under KYC. That's adaptive and comprehensive approach. So it means give us a more in detail information of customer. And on other hand, if we discuss about AML, so let's discuss AML as well, anti-money laundering part. So if we talk about AML process, which establish robust procedure and controls to combat money laundering and financial crimes. So when we talk about financial crimes, so financial crimes, it means any scandals or any money which is used for, let's say, social unrest, or maybe bomb blast or attacks or terrorist plannings and all. If money, let's say, used for all such activities, that all comes under your anti-money laundering cases. Or even if you, let's say, if you avoid taxes on money, and if you hide source of, let's say, funds, again that comes under anti-money laundering. If you see the recent case of Delhi government in India, we have a Delhi, which is, the Delhi government case. If you see, if you try to go and check, do some in detail information, you can see the link of AML, anti-money laundering. They have routed around more than 500 crores from one accounts to different accounts through Hawala. All right. Anyways, so this is not the political session, so I don't want to expose anyone here. But I'm just giving you the example how money laundering works. So purpose of the money laundering is deterring bad actors and preventing financial crimes while protecting businesses. So the first and most important the aspect of AML is they'll try to protect their business first. And of course you will have to find out people like, or people, or I would say like whosoever, means take the example of any business in banking business, including employees to all, means vendors and all. So they comes under this, bad actors, means anyone can play role as a bad actor. So we'll have to find out that person and ensure that we have certain measures in place so that we can avoid potential risk. So let's talk about some elements. In terms of elements, we have email screening, customer due diligence, transition monitoring, and suspicious activity reporting, a process in place. And apart from that, cooperation with authorities. Cooperation with authorities, it means your ED, enforcement of directors of India, so they control this activities, email activities, anti-money laundering activities. If they monitor, or if they, let's say, received any inquiry or email or anything as such from anyone, they'll start interrogating that case, financial crime case, and provide detailed review to the finance ministry or respective departments, and they'll take the control of your accounts as well. All right. Same Paytm case also, you would have heard that the case has been sent to the ED, enforcement of directors. Now they'll review that business activity and everything. What happened actually, how accounts, means multiple accounts, fake accounts come into picture, why they have opened this accounts, what was the purpose, means all information they'll gather it, and then prepare a report and file case against company. If that company fails to justify, then they'll penalize directors also. So this is how your email basically come into picture, anti-money laundering process. If we talk about features, see, proactively measuring all email risk and implementing holistic policies to effectively mitigate them. So we should always review anti-money laundering policies on time to time to ensure that we have process in place. Otherwise what will happen, you may see big risk as well. So because the RBI or CB, that they can impose certain sanctions or penalties, or even they can cancel your license if you violate this anti-money laundering policies. So we should always, and this applies to the individual as well, they can even cancel your passport. They'll restrict you to not to fly until you get the further notice. They can seize all your the documents and everything if you got in any email activities. Even if you're, let's say, not means proved person, but you have just like caught up in their first initial course of action, in that case also they'll impose all restrictions on you. All right, so that comes under your anti-money laundering process. And in every organizations, they have a department or they have a vertical, even if it is a manufacturing company. So we perform KYC at company level, we perform KYC at financial product level, we perform KYC at fund level, we perform KYC at employee level or director level. So means in short, we perform KYC for everyone, and we also monitor the accounts of every employees. all right, to avoid anti-money laundering activities or any bribes and all. So now let's talk about corporate, KYC. Corporate KYC is an identify verification measure that authenticate the legitimacy of business and its owners before they can open an account with financial institution. I have recently opened my current bank account, but before that I had to register my company. So I registered my company under company act. I registered company with Corporate Ministry of India, and after the registration, I have opened bank account with Kotak. But they asked me all corporate company details like director details, company name, company details, company number, company ISIN, all of that information I have shared with them, and then after they have activated the account. All right. Then you would see three elements of other, of corporate KYC process. One is customer identity verification. And then second one is customer due diligence and ongoing monitoring. See, in a day in day to life, in day in day out, so we follow this, checks. First, we verify identity documents. As I said, PAN, Aadhaar, that comes under your passport and all that comes under customer identity verification. So you can identify customer through these documents or maybe through biometric process as well. And apart from that, so your customer due diligence, so it means follow that all checks, don't miss any checks. So if you have a checklist, you can follow that, or you can means it is your responsibility basically to ensure that you have checked everything. So that comes under customer due diligence. And then ongoing monitoring, it means on a regular interval you can monitor the all that KYC documents of customer and send notice to them, ask them to do it, verify it from their side as well. So this is how your elements come into picture in KYC process, because it's a very crucial KYC is a very crucial part. It helps or prevent, I would say, to or restrict fraudulent activities and all. Means you can avoid that risk. All right. So now let's talk about a few examples. What are the the sanctions, and explain all its types with prevent examples. So sanctions, it means, see, you would have heard about that recently US sanctioned that Russia, so not to settle payment in USD and all. Why that US did this with Russia? Because the Russia attacked on Ukraine, and then US imposed restrictions or sanction on Russia to not to trade in their currencies. All right, so that all comes under sanction. So let's understand what are the countries or organizations which are banned or already all that organizations comes under sanctions. All right, sanctions, it means restrictions basically. Sanctions are restrictive actions taken by individual countries, regimes, or coalitions with the primary purpose of provoking a change in policy. Sanctions can restrict trade, financial transactions, and diplomatic relations and movement. They can be specific or general in their implementation and enforcement. We have sanction types, which is comprehensive sanctions, which means complete sanctions. So totally you can ban to that organization or country. So for example, North Korea, Iran, Syria, Cuba, so they have completely banned. And the targeted organizations, if you see, which means sanctions on certain individuals or entities. Comprehensive sanctions, it is all about countries. And targeted sanctions, it means from that country, if you want to target, let's say, any this Taliban from Afghanistan. So the world sanction on Taliban or Osama bin Laden or their organization Jaish-e Mohammed, or Al Qaeda, something, they are the organizations which are already banned or sanctioned from most of the countries. All right, why it is important sanction, guys? So see, the intention of the system or regime or government is to protect their people first. If they don't sanction or allow them to trade in your free economy, they can manipulate anything on their way, their own way, and they can take the undue advantage as well. So this is what the sanctions, which is very important one. So if you don't sanction it, then you can't uh, basically operate that activities transparently. Third one is sectoral sanctions, so which means trade is banned, like crude oil from Venezuela energy companies in Russia. So now they have banned Russia as well, so not to produce more oil. So this comes under your sectorial, sanctions. All right. Then another thing is, which is try to understand how how are PEPs categorized, and give one example for each with rules. So basically, see, I have prepared a couple of questions that will help you. So we to even deal with your KYC part as well. So along with this discussion, I'll share this with you also. All right. PEP, it means politically exposed personality or person. If anyone is politically exposed person, which are like an individual who are or have been entrusted with prominent public functions or positions, making them susceptible to corruption and involvement in money laundering activities. So there's individuals pose higher risk, and due to their potential influence and access to the public funds. So that comes under basically PIP, so that you can follow the separate process. So we have the examples for a PEPs. PEP, you may expect questions around like, do you know about PEP? PEP, it means politically exposed person, and for a politically exposed person, you can have a separate process in place. So you cannot apply the basically common process to the PEPs. So you can design separate process and apply separately. All right. So foreign PEPs, it means former president, prime minister, minister, or senior officials of foreign governments. For instance, let's say if a person served as a president of a country, maybe US, so they would be considered as a foreign PEP. In other jurisdiction, it means in India. So we'll treat them as a foreign PEPs. And if they want to open accounts here, so we'll follow the proper KYC process in their case also. All right. Sorry. Then domestic PPs. Domestic PPs, it means, for example, let's say Prime Minister Narendra Modi, that comes under domestic PPs. Then chief ministers, or other political party presidents or political persons, right? Head of, let's say, panchayat. So there are many other, that hierarchies that all comes under your political exposed persons category at domestic level. So in their cases, we need to follow the separate process, and we'll have to keep monitor their accounts thoroughly. The reason is, as I said, PPs, it means they'll get the direct access of public funds or government funds, and if you don't follow the through KYC or AML activities on their accounts, then they can easily manipulate funds or transfer funds to their different accounts and access the public funds for their personal benefits. To control this, we follow this PEP process for them. Then third one is international organizations PEP. So definition, it means individual who hold or have held a significant position in international organizations. For example, head of international organizations such as United States, International Monetary Fund, or World Health Organizations. For example, the secretary or general general secretary of the United Nations would be considered an international organizations PEP. So basically, any person from international organizations, presidents or their secretaries, if they come to your country, or maybe you can treat them as a international organizations PEP as well. And if they open their accounts with you, so you can maintain their KYC documents with you as well. But ensure that you have checked everything, and you can open or categorize that accounts under international organizations PEP only, because these are the categories basically. Right. Another one is critical part, you would say, which is military PPs. The definition is individual with prominent roles in the military who may have a significant influence, like general, major, right, or the person who is at a very prominent level. Prominent, it means at a very highest level, that you can say that person comes under military PPs. And even for military, we have a separate check or separate process as well. An organization conduct their KYC thoroughly. And it's very important, guys, because it's matter of national interest and safety and security of more than 150 crore people. So it's important to check, KYC thoroughly or AML activities thoroughly. Otherwise, we never know what if, let's say, your country's main person is involved in international crimes or honey trapping or any other activities. Then entire country would be under risk. So it's very important. All right. Then next one is judicial PPs. Judicial, it means the Chief Justice of Court or Supreme Court or any other court, that all personnel comes under your judicial PPs. We also perform separate process for those people who opened account with us as a Chief Justice, or or open their accounts with any institution, maybe in investments, banking, or any other. So we perform thorough checks on their accounts. Then another one is state-owned enterprises. So definition of state-owned enterprises PPs is individual in a leadership role with state-owned enterprises or government-controlled corporations like BPCL CEO, HPCL CEO, or State Bank CEO, or HDFC Bank CEO. So that comes under your basically state-owned enterprises or government enterprises corporations, right? So we'll follow the thorough checks, or will examine each and every activities of their accounts, and it is mandate for them as well to submit KYC or relevant documents to the that particular bank, so that they can verify it from their side. But yes, if you see any, if you're opening accounts of any, let's say, CEO of government banks or government companies, then you can treat them as a state-owned enterprise PPs. All right. Then what is the meaning of due diligence? Another question is, what is the meaning of due diligence? Due diligence, the term which is refers to the action that is considered reasonable for people to be expected to take in order to keep themselves or others and their property is safe. So basically verify the documents, whatever documents that you have, just verify it clearly and make sure that you have checked everything. So this is what points come into picture, due diligence. So fundamentally, due diligence is because practice that seeks to ensure that people and organizations keeps their dealing secure by understanding the facts and risk associated with the business and with the transaction or properties, or we have discussed this real estate example, correct? So that all comes under your due diligence process. So we need to check all facts and understand the importance of that process as well. So do not miss any checks basically. All right. So let's talk about CDDs. We have discussed PPs. Now let's talk about CDDs. We have few CDDs. So if we talk about CDD, it means customer due diligence, and we have also EDD as well, enhanced due diligence, are term commonly used in the context of anti-money laundering. So EDD you can use in the context of anti-money laundering, and know your customer regulations to prevent financial crimes such as money laundering and terrorist financing. Right. So these practices are particularly important in the financial service industry, where institutions need to ensure that they are not unwittingly facilitating illegal activities. So sometime what happened, let's say, see, organization has no involvement, but sometime that you would see where from, where that they have, let's say, opened account with them, and then that activity started. So basically, they are responsible for it. See, banks are responsible for everything, and it is their responsibility to cross verify everything before offering service to anyone. If they don't check their, customer KYC, or if they don't monitor their accounts, then ultimately their bank is indirectly, promoting that activities, because they are also key stakeholder. Government can't track everything, and that's what government assigned or delegated responsibilities to the organizations, that they should follow the checks. And if they don't follow the checks, then it is their responsibility basically to ensure that, they have, at least means they have a process in place, or address the issue to the counterparts of governments. But if they don't, then ultimately, so it is the risk. All right. Then what about CDD? CDD is the standard process of collecting and verifying information about a customer's identity and assessing the risk associated with the customer. So you can collect the documents, then verify that. As I said, your PAN, Aadhaar, or all other information that comes under your CDD, that comes under your customer due diligence. The primary goal of CDD is to establish the identity of a customer and understand the nature of their business or financial transactions. If you open your current account, they'll ask you to provide business details. Without business details, they don't activate it. Recently, I have activated one of the company uh, in India, but that person means one of my relative who is living in Netherlands. Right. Now, see, I have opened account, but now when I approach to the banks, bank is asking both of us to, be present there, and then only they'll activate the accounts. So this is how, checks, they'll follow it, and they should follow it. Means without ensuring that, proper the documentation and all, they should not activate any accounts, and it's very important one. And I'm also waiting for now. So I have called that, relative to come to India, and then we'll open the account, and then you can go. Anyways, the another point is the basic CDD measures includes verifying the customer's identity through documents like passport or national ID cards, and collecting information on the customer's source of funds. So very crucial, guys, to provide source of a funds. Let's say you have sold your property, agricultural property basically, and you have received 10 crores in your bank account. If you don't prove this, that you have sold property and that's why you have received, 10 crores, then government will put a sanction on your amounts. The amount will goes in the AML in a process, where you will have to prove it that this money is clean and you have received from the sources, which is banking. Sorry, your means that you have sold your agricultural land, and that's why you have received that amount. So you will have to prove it. Are you getting my point? So this is how basically CDD works. Then another which is point is EDD. EDD, it means enhanced due diligence process. If you compare this CDD and EDD with each other, EDD is a more thorough and detailed level of due diligence that goes beyond the standard CDD requirements, and it is typically applied to customer or transactions with a higher risk of involvement in money laundering or other illicit activities. EDD involves a more in-depth analysis of the customer's background, business activities, and financial transactions. This may include scrutinizing the customer's ownership structure, conducting site visit, and obtaining additional verification documentation. Right. So EDD is applied on a risk-based approach, meaning that the level of diligence increases based on the perceived risk associated with the customer or transaction. If there is any risk identified with any a certain person, so that they can perform EDD analysis. All right, and especially EDD will be performed for PEP persons, politically exposed persons, or high value transactions, or maybe even companies accounts, basically current accounts and all. So they perform enhanced due diligence process. All right, here they have mentioned as well, PEP, it will be performed for enhanced due diligence. EDD will be performed for PEP, in case of PEPs and high value transactions. For retail people, we just try to perform CDD only, but for organizations or PEPs, we perform EDD. All right. So financial institutions and other businesses subject to AML regulations are required to implement both CDD and EDD measures to comply with legal and regulatory requirements. And this practice help ensure the integrity of the financial system and to protect against misuse of financial service for criminal activities. So CDD and EDD both uh, assist organizations to prevent basically financial crimes, I would say, in short, if you ask me, the purpose of CDD and EDD. All right. So now let's talk about what are the main components of an effective AML and KYC program. Effective components. If you talk about effective components of both anti-money laundering and AML, or know your customer, KYC or AML, see, both are crucial for organizations, right? Both are crucial. If I talk about this means AML and KYC program, that includes customer due diligence, which is CDD, means identification or risk assessment, and even enhanced due diligence as well. Enhanced due diligence, it's an approach so that you can conduct thorough review for PPs and even ongoing monitoring, transaction monitoring for both risk-based approach, record keeping also that you can maintain for customers, training and awareness of your employees, which is also important, internal control and policies, right? So that you can check internal policies and accordingly you can also perform checks. Reporting suspicious activities, implement procedures for reporting activities or investigating suspicious activities promptly. If you see any suspicious activity, you can highlight that to your managers or senior persons, mark as a red flag so that they can cross verify it quickly. All right. Then sanctions screening, basically, so means you can continuously verify sanctions or their list, and accordingly you can also take actions, because the government's agencies, they share data with the organizations, financial organizations, maybe for a blacklisted accounts or sanctioned account. They'll ensure that from their end as well, that they have closed the accounts, or maybe uh, restrict the payments or transactions on that account. Independent audit also that they can perform it from their side. Collaboration and information sharing. If any organization required information, or government organization, let's say, required information on any on any front, so it is mandate to share that information to the government agency. All right. And regulatory and compliance. Regulatory and compliance, it means staying updated on adhering to the regulatory requirement, guidelines related AML and KYC, which is a very important one. So by means, if we integrate that, so basically, AML and KYC programs, uh, so it will enhance their basically ability to identify potential frauds or illicit activities, I would say, or any terrorist activities and or money laundering activities basically. All right. So now the another question we have is, do you how do you ensure compliance with AML and KYC regulations in your day-to-day activities? So you can establish AML KYC policies, whatever that you have mentioned by your organizations, and you can cross verify it. Right? Always you can go ahead with the risk-based approach as well. Risk-based approach, it means PP accounts that it that comes under high risky category, or any high value transaction, maybe let's say 1000 crore, 2000 crore. So that transaction comes under high value. So that you can cross verify it basically. Cross verify that and ensure all checks that means transactions, let's say, fulfilled, or whatever checklist that you have, you can follow your checks and ensure that they have processed or followed all checks before executing the transactions on accounting system. So you can check that from your side basically. Then you employ training or customer identification, right, or their data. So ultimately data is, as I said, PAN, Aadhaar, or address proof, that all comes under your data. And record keeping system, automated compliance solution, if you have regular audits, so same points. And even here the different point which I can see, customer communication. I'm sure you would have also seen this. Let's say if you haven't accept deposit or withdraw amount from your accounts for more than 1 year, so they'll put your account under review. So they'll ask you to perform KYC. All right. Through customer communication, it means bank will reach out to you, or their employees will reach out to you, and they'll ask you to perform KYC basically. Right. So what are the consequences of non-compliance with AML and KYC regulations? Non-compliance with anti-money laundering, AML, and know your customer. See, if you fail to follow the KYC or AML check, so here the government may penalize you, maybe legal penalty, or even they can shut your operations. Government can file case against board of directors or responsible person. That also may happen. Your license may get cancelled, reputational damage, increase regulatory oversight on your activities. Recently, if you see, RBI imposed sanction on Kotak Bank, even IIFL Finance as well. Operational disruption also, you can see customer loss, regulatory action against individuals, right, their directors or employees, that also may happen. Right. So how do you assess the risk level of customer during the KYC process? So here, the assessing the risk level of customer during the know your process involves evaluating various factors. When we talk about various factors, it means check their documentation, guys, in detail documentation. Ask questions as much as you can. If you don't get a proper answer, then escalate, that matter to the higher level authorities. Ask them to cross verify that. Don't take a risk, in short. And these are the points. Then customer profiling, it means check the customer profile, occupation, identity, date of birth, number, uh, source of funds information, business relationship, all other information that you can check. customer segment, geography, customer type, right? PP or non-organizations or politically exposed, and also you can check that. Then source of wealth funds, assess the legitimacy. It is again important. Purpose of relationship. So basically, you can check all that information, before go ahead with any activities. So these are again same repetitive points. Basically, risk scoring or your uh, means that we when we apply for a personal loan, we always check the score. If your score is not good, then they'll not disburse your amount. Right? Third party relationship, customer behavior, everything that you can basically perform checks before approving anything. If you don't check this, then you are violating as a organization or employee. You are violating regulation. So we should always check all of this while activating accounts of any person. Means that all checks comes under your KYC or AML part basically. All right. Then other question is, what are some red flags or indicators of potential money laundering activities? See, sometime you would see where frequently you have received large cash transactions without any much of information or reference, or maybe let's say someone is every day withdrawing some large amount in cash. That's how you can keep an eye on those accounts. Maybe breaking down large transaction into smaller. Let's say in morning you have checked it that there was a 10,000 crores in their accounts, and in the evening you have seen thousands of transactions which has been made throughout the day. Maybe 100 crore to 100 crore as a withdrawal. So that all comes under your suspicious activities. So you should track those activities. Sometime the unusual transaction pattern also you would see, right? So which the inconsistent transactions or the information which is not, let's say, available or provided. Maybe the repetitive transaction just below reporting. See, there is one instance I would like to tell you here. One of my friend from not friend, but I heard that my friend basically told this story. One of the person from Bank of Baroda, that guy was cashier and he was used to transfer 1 rupees from, means the big accounts, like let's say if someone is holding 10 lakhs in bank account, so that guy was sending 1 rupees from that 10 lakhs rupees accounts to the different accounts. So it means basically to his girlfriend's account. So he did, and he did this with the thousands of accounts. He just automated that process. So every day money was getting debited from different accounts. So he raised almost 25 lakhs, and eventually, but finally, the bank identified him and filed case against that person. But yes, that comes under actually money laundering activities. So we should monitor all of those activities. Then cross-border transactions or third-party payments. So it all comes under your additional monitoring. So we should perform additional monitoring. Then rapid movement of funds, inconsistent business transactions, use of shell companies, so which is not something new in India. There is no physical presence, but still the company is activated and doing trades. Most of the people they hold shell companies, and unexplained wealth or income, that also comes under your uh, basically this KYC and AML part. Politically exposed, lack of economic purposes, or failure to provide information and all. So again, see, red flag, it means these are the red flags. Almost 17 are the red flags. First, understand this importance of red flags. It's important to note that red flags should be considered in the context of a comprehensive risk-based approach. So financial institutions should implement robust monetary system, conduct ongoing risk assessments, and have mechanism in place to investigate and report suspicious transactions to the regulatory authorities. So every organization basically follow that, checks. All right. And they should follow it, because this approach covers everything. And this approach comes under your potential, red flags under money laundering. So how you can prevent money laundering? If you implement this, red flags, and ensure that you have a proper mechanism and process in place, then you can control that, anti money laundering risk. All right. So we'll discuss further part. We have almost 10 plus pages more. So we'll discuss further part tomorrow in our session. All right. This KYC basically, guys, most of the part that you would see theoretical, because the approach and all other things, it's for a good to know basis. If you join any KYC process, so you should know that, or if you have any interview for KYC one, so you should know it. So it's a more legal, work, or define an AML process, or KYC process. So you should know that. So it might seem again bored, but we can't do anything. So few things that we can make it, interactive, but few things we'll have to go through that only. All right, I'll share these documents with you. So further part we'll discuss in next session. As tomorrow we'll cover this. So we have money laundering process and all other information. All right. So you can ask questions if you have any questions around it. Otherwise, I'm done with today. We'll connect tomorrow to cover further part. Any question, guys? Okay, if you don't have any questions, then you can log out from the session. All right. We'll connect tomorrow at same time, and we'll cover the further part.